This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to today's session. So we're going to start a new unit, which is a system development and user experience. So from our learning outcome one, we're going to understand how system development life cycle is and how it works. 1 second. Okay. From our indicative content, we're going to analyze system development lifecycle models, examine the problems that can occur from not using a system development, evaluate the benefits of using it, create a user and a system requirement document, evaluate the impact change requirement that can have on the system development. So before getting into system development, or more in depth, we should take a step back and look into how this business work, what is the nature of the business. So in order to do so, we're going to focus on what is a business information system. So as we all know, a company, before picking up the work from a client, they need to discuss with this client through managers and project managers in order to understand what are the requirements for this business and how the whole team has to work and which methodology will be more suitable. So coming into looking what business information is simply a group of interrelated components that work collectively to carry out. So we do have input, data, processing, output, storage, and control action, which converts data into information product. So this information product can be used to support in different stages of the work. So you can support for our planning, controlling, coordinating, or even decision making within the organization. So let's give some quick theory regarding systems. So systems theory simply provides a powerful means of analysis and improving business process. So by therefore, we can understand that it's just a collection of interrelated components that work together towards a collective goal. So all these data which have been analyzed and processed, they all have to have their own functionality and work towards achieving certain goals. So as we can see from the image, we receiving input information, input data, then it has to be processed, and once it's processed, we have to come up with some decision and with some tangible results, which they're going to be output. So within this process, we can now implement some further stages, which has to, once we deliver the product, we can now have feedback on how this is going and how it can be improved. And this has to be consistently. So this is where it comes into user experience. So by collecting data, we keep on receiving, we keep on testing and receiving useful data to improve our service. So when we look into some of the characteristics of our system, we need to understand that it could be objective due to environment and also boundaries. By objective, we just simply looking into all the components which are which are related to our system, and they might be related to each other through entities. And also we have to look into environmental characteristic that might be surrounding our system, which could be due to the customer request or sales channels or other external activities that might impact, such as government, for example, legislation, or just how the market is working. And also boundary. Therefore, we're going to look into the scope of the system, which he defines the boundaries, and by the boundary we just setting some limits which does not have to be crossed, and it marks the interface between the system and the environment. Other components could be subsystem interchange of information, or also the linkage between subsystem and coupling. And also we're going to look into independence, so how the system can work on a standalone, and how this change can happen, and what could be the results of implementing these changes. So this is a more in detail example of how our responses between the user and team are going. So this image just shows more in detail how environmental circumstances can impact the information system. So a couple of resources that can be supported on a BIS related to, first of all, the people which are working with them, with the development team. Also the hardware and infrastructure which are going to be used by the team with all the facilities. And also we're going to take consideration of the software resources. Therefore, for example, depending on the department, they might have different resources. So, for example, the software, like the software development department might use different resources compared to the project manager or the testing or the DevOps department. So these are all components that has to be noted and taken in consideration when we work with when we're working in a business information system. Also, we need to take consideration of communication resources and data resources. So with the first is just simply the resources that are also required to enable different systems to transfer data. So is simply the way data communication occurs within the teams, within the organization. And data resources is just simply describes all the data that an organization has access to, and regardless of the way is being given. So a couple of advantages of a computer processing could be the speed, where these computers can quickly access data, retrieve and manipulate this data. The accuracy of how our software, of how a computer are working, and also reliability, which is how much we rely on these resources in order for us to complete the project and achieve the assigned task. And we're also going to look into programmability, where is simply the ability to modify the software that controls them, provides a high degree of flexibility. So this is more related to how this computer they can quickly adapt and program on high level. And also we're going to look into repetitive tasks, where computer-based information systems are suited to highly repeat tasks over and over again. And that's when it comes to into testing and checking the quality and the bugs that might occur. So a couple of risks of working on a system development lifecycle could be related to judgment experience, flexibility, innovation, so intuition and qualitative information. So if we're going to look into each of them, by judgment experience, we can definitely see that despite advancing artificial intelligence techniques and expert systems, computer-based information systems are considered incapable of solving problems using their own judgment and experience. So definitely we need a human brain in order to have some logical thinking, which can be done by a computer, but does not integrate some environmental consideration. So this is one of the limitations. Flexibility, where in general computer-based information systems are enabled to react to unexpected situations and events. So as long as we have a machine, say for example we are on artificial intelligence and we have a unsupervised machine which can adapt into any situation, while for a computer-based system this cannot occur because a couple of limitations might occur where computers are not able to handle unexpected situations, and that's why we need the intervention of a human brain, which is able to handle any type of situation. Also, we're going to look into innovation, where computer lack the creativity of human being. So, as we already mentioned, computers have a lot of limitations, where even artificial intelligence nowadays, I do believe, will never reach. So we have intuition. So by intuition is simply when a human brain can ably predict a situation and understand what could be the consequences in a positive or negative aspect due to a situation. We have also qualitative information, where managers often make a structured decision based on the recommendation of others. So it's really important to analyze the quality of an information before launching it. So this is a pyramidal structure, where we can see that at the bottom we have a transaction processing. Then we have operational, technical, and strategic. So each of these stages, they all work together in order for the business to able to process information and deliver a good quality of service. So now we're going to understand what the information system might be found in a newsagent or corner shop, and for each system identified, we need to list the people, hardware, communication, software, and data resources involved. So we have in a couple of case studies. So coming, for example, in a e-commerce or e-business, we can see that all the information might be digitalized, so they might be stored on a database, and all electronic mediums information exchange both within an organization and with the external stakeholders supporting the range of business process. So in this case scenario, we have an example of how information systems are stored within the client, which is a e-commerce store, and the development team, which has all the information, and they promptly have to exchange with the client. While for e-commerce, all electronically mediated information exchange between an organization and its external stakeholders. So there's a slightly difference between e-business and e-commerce, and therefore it's really important to differentiate them straight away before running into some misunderstanding or errors. So by e-commerce, which buy-side e-commerce, where an e-commerce transaction between a purchasing organization and its support, and then there is also a sell-side e-commerce, where e-commerce transaction between a supplier organization and its customer. So this could be seen as a business to customer, or like a business to business, depending on the circumstances, or depending on the nature. We then have to look into which of the strategy is more suitable. So now we're looking into enterprises systems. We do have to understand that this they support business process of organization across functional boundaries that exist within an organization. So systems which are used for enterprises are definitely in a larger scale, and is way more complex, while compared to business to customer information system. So as we can see, there are four main elements of enterprise system which have to be taken into consideration. So we have to take in consideration of ERP, which simply stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So whenever we're going to work for enterprises, we need to look into what are going to be the entities and how they're going to relate to each other, and which would be a most effective planning strategy. And then we have to look into customer relationship management. So a CRM, which is more, most of the times these CRM are like softwares, and these type of softwares are sold to businesses, small or medium size, or even enterprises. Well, in this case, we're looking into enterprises, just to improve the marketing and the sales department. So this software has to be really up to scale in order for our customer to be fully satisfied and increase the revenue, the annual revenue. Then now we have to look into supply chain management, which is mainly concerned about the workflow, how the supply chain, how the product from producer goes through different parties, third parties, and how it's managed before it lands to the consumer. And last consideration, the last element we're going to look into is the supplier relationship management. So after looking into the whole chain, we need to look into each single entity and how they are internally managing the goods, and how they're managing the product. So the image just simply shows at the top we have the enterprise system, which has to integrate all marketing, finance, manufacture, distribution, and HRM elements all together. And by taking consideration of all these separate departments, all of them put together, they have to create our new enterprise system. So after looking into what is a business information system, now we're going to look into what is a BIS acquisition. So by BIS acquisition, we just defining the process of evaluating implementation of a BIS. So before implementing it, there's several considerations and steps that have to be noted, and a system development life cycle is simply an information system project which follows a logical series of development phases. So all these phases are subdivided into stages. So as we all know, we have the first stage, which is planning, where with the project manager and IT manager, they're going into plan how, after speaking to the customer, obviously they're going to plan how they're going to deliver this product. Then we have analysis phases, where all the reports are going to be done. Then we have the designing phase, where all the frameworks, all the wireframes for the user interface is going to be designed. Then we have implementation, where is all our software developers are going to develop the software. And then there is testing phase, where once this software has been really created, it has to be then tested by our software testers. And after that, we have the deployment phase, where the software is going to be launched in the market. And once it's launched, we then need the maintenance phase, where it comes to looking into our user experience. So these are the basic stages that have to be followed for each SDLC methodology across each of them. So this diagram just shows a couple of elements that has to be taken into consideration. So we have external business environment on the left-hand side, while on the right-hand side we have internal business process. All of them, they both has to correlate, and they have to be managed by the business strategy and policy. So it's really important to have an effective strategy for the team, in order to work on both sides. And this strategy has to provide the most effective information system. So normally, business acquisition could simply occur by building from scratch a product, or by buying an existing project, let's call it as a template, and then improve it. So we do have three types of acquisition, which are bespoke development, which the software can be created in-house or outsourced, or off the shelf, which can be tailored or a standard software. So bespoke development is when an information system is developed from scratch, as we said, and by information system professionals to suit the business requirement of the application. And the benefits of building it from scratch is tailored for the requirement of the business. So this project, which is entirely brand new, will be entirely suited for that business, so it'll be completely tailored for them. This is a really good advantage. And also we have my confer specific competitive advantages. So this could be related to even copyright, or where people cannot just work on this existing project. While the problem that we might face with bespoke development is expenses. So hiring a whole company, a whole web development company, or software development company might be really cost effective. So we really need to look into what are the cost and budget for the realization of the project. Also, we need to look into the time which has been set, the time frame that has been set to develop the software. And after looking into cost and timing, we definitely need to have a really high quality product. So because we've spent time and money, we do expect to have really efficient software, which is presented with the least possible errors and contains the most effective features for our customers. Now we're going to look into off-the-shelf purchase, where we're just going to buy existing businesses or existing applications. So they could be pre-written application, or for example, template. Let's just call them template, where already existing on the team is just going to pick up that application and improve it. So if we look at the benefits, is time, which is quickly, is very you take you less time than building it from scratch, and cost, obviously, since is not really brand new but it's been used, it will be slightly cheaper because it's not tailored for that specific business. So it's more like a open source where people can just pick up the idea and work on it. And quality, where it should offer at least stability and a good features that can be used throughout the development. Then some disadvantages might obtain some features specifically required by individual customer. So not all of these templates, for example, can be suitable for our business. So we might be required to look into more and more application before we find the most suitable for our customer. Requires changes to process to meet needs of software. So even though it's already existing, as we said, we might have to add implement more features which can also lead us to wrong, might also lead us to a lot of errors, and therefore we have to work more on the software. So as we can see, this is a couple of advantages. So end user development. So for end user softwares, these are simply written by non-information system professionals. So these softwares might be written from project managers or people that know information system specialists. So the benefit is it could be tailored for the end user. Is often relatively fast. And some disadvantages that we might encounter is might not have achieved wider business objectivities. So we do have a lot of targets set by our customer, where with end user development cannot be reached because we simply have not the facilities to work on that. We don't have the time and enough people in there to work on the project. So other factors that might affect could be size of the organization, as we can say, depending on if it's a small, medium, or enterprise business. Size of in-house IT capability. So also the infrastructure has to be taken into consideration. Complexity of information system. So depending on how hard is the project going to be, and end user experience and linkage to other application and data sources. So this is this image quickly simplify what other just summarize benefits, pros and cons of bespoke softwares, and also off-the-shelf softwares. So as we already been mentioning, SDLC process, which is used to build the software, and every project has to integrate these steps. So from this image, we can now see how this works. So we have initiation phase, feasibility study, requirements analysis, system design, build, implementation, maintaining, and kill. So as we already mentioned, we have the planning phase, which is simply called initialize, where we pick up the case study, we analyze it, and we draw a methodology, a time frame. Then we have feasibility assessment, so which is simply the activity at the start of the project to ensure that the project is viable business proposition. So we just simply assessing if how this project is doable. So input is simply idea for initiation of a new information system, and the output has to be feasibility report and recommendation to proceed. So he's just looking into a couple of consideration for us before processing into the next stages. So we have system analysis.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Victor. Can you share this document with me, because I can't find it on my Moodle.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I've not uploaded yet. I will upload them as soon as we finish.
Okay, because the SDLC is something which I am quite aware of, so I thought I'll just have a quick glance, and if it's not needed, we can skip this part.
Okay. I will upload all the presentations, then you can look into them.
Okay.
On the Moodle. Okay. As soon as we finish. So we have system analysis. After analyzing, we have design. After designing, we're looking into building, where we are developing the program. After building, we have to implement, whereby implementation involves transitioning or changeover from old system to a new one. So we're making sure that the hardware and the network infrastructure for a new system are in place, and it involves testing of our system. And this was everything. Any question?
No.
I think this is much clear for you, this SDLC process.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is everything for today. So what I'll do, let me just show you. So, for example, in the next unit, we're going to look more into details about the methodology. For example, agile, waterfall. Is this something you might be interested, or you want to move forward?
I mean, I work in these methodologies, so I am aware of a portion of it. But if you can upload these, I can have a look and I can tell you if we need to do that, or probably if the course covers everything that I am already aware of, then in that case we can skip that part.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I will. Yeah, let me just do them now. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go on. Let me stop recording.
Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.